Today I'll be showing you guys how to replace a starter on a 2000 PT Cruiser. Let's get into it. Alright, so this is the vehicle. Open up the hood. A couple things are missing in the engine bay, but it's just simple things. I'll show you them in a minute. Yeah, just the intake and the engine cover. Just take those off. Free up some space. Get some wrenches to take off the battery terminals. Then you want to remove the battery hold down. This battery hold down was definitely not OE. Someone else had put that on, but no matter what it is, it has to come off. So yours might look different, but it has to come off. Then you want to remove the battery. Get that out of the way. Alright, then next you want to find the bolt that I'm pointing at right here, shining the flashlight onto. It's pretty easy to tell what bolt it is. It's holding down a ground cable. You don't want to take it all the way out yet. You just want to loosen it. Alright, then next you want to take out the battery tray. It's a few, some of these were missing, but it's a few 10mm bolts. It's hard to see on camera, but you want to remove all of the electrical connections onto the starter. There's a wire on the back that is held on with a 10mm nut, and then there's also an electrical plug that plugs into the starter, and it's just like the one on the intake. The next thing you want to do is jack up the car. You want to make sure that you jack it up on strong frame so that it doesn't crush on you. After jacking it up, you want to add a jack stand for safety, just in case. You then want to go underneath the car and look for the bottom starter bolt. The bolt is in a kind of hard to access location, but as long as you can feel it on the starter, it's just on the bottom of it. It's hard to see, but it's where I'm tapping the wrench at right here. To get to it, you have to use an extension. This is the one that I used. You then want to make sure that all electrical connections are off. Remove that bottom bolt. That's what the bolt looks like, just for reference. Then you want to take out the top bolt. Then you want to remove the starter. You could finesse it through the top. Going through the bottom is kind of a pain, so I just recommend going to the top. There's enough space for it, as you can see. Here, I'm just comparing the two to make sure that everything looks the same, which is a good practice to make sure that you don't put a part in and then realize it doesn't work. I then also make sure that the bolt goes through to make sure that it's the same thread. Then you want to work on putting the starter in the same way you took it out. After getting the starter in place, you can begin turning in the top bolt. You don't want to tighten it all the way, just hand tighten it a little bit and make sure that the ground cable has the bolt going through it. You then want to put that bottom starter bolt back in and then tighten everything up. Then you want to connect your electrical connections and make sure that plug goes on and you lock it as I'm showing here. After making sure that everything is nice and tight, you want to put the battery back in. After connecting the battery, you want to attempt to start the car. Don't leave it on for long as some sensors aren't plugged in, but you just want to make sure that it starts before you put everything back together. As you can see, it starts. After making sure everything's good, you want to put the battery tray back on. Tighten down the battery tray. And then you want to put the battery in and make sure that the terminals are good. And then make sure you tighten down the battery hold down. And then you want to put the intake back in. It kind of just forces into place. You have to force it down a little bit, but it's not too hard. Don't forget to put the clip back on and then lock it down. Then also don't forget to put the vacuum line back on that goes on the bottom of that hose right there. And of course, tighten down the 8mm. And then you want to put on the engine cover. As you can see, there's little tabs there, and then it just pushes right down onto it. It's got to put some pressure on top of the cover. I then started it up again and heard that the motor was running pretty rough. Hearing this, I decided to check the oil. As you can see, the oil is not only low, but pretty dirty, so we have to change that. I hope that you found this helpful and learned how to replace the starter on a 2000 PT Cruiser. Thank you for watching.